The first Friday practice sessions for the 2021 F1 season got underway at Bahrain, with most teams focusing on shaking down their cars and trying to iron out any issues with their new challengers ahead of the longest MyDriver season to date. Tire wear would be a big concern for most teams as the sun went down. However, with the medium tire proving to be problematic on long runs but necessary to make a two-stop work, the setup of the car would be crucial come Sunday. The Ferrari and Mercedes looked the most consistent throughout practice, with Jaguar admitting their car was quite unkind on its tires at this early stage of the season. Audi's pace looked to be quite the mystery, with the team looking great on some runs and then way off the mark on others. Analysts have suggested that the Audi may be operating in a very tight setup window, similar to that of the Ferrari in 2020. Renault looked to be surprisingly good on short runs and say they have already made plans for upgrades following tests carried out on Friday. Meanwhile, their former partners Red Bull, who were busy shaking down their new Chevrolet power, certainly looked like they were missing their ex-aerodynamic genius Adrian Newey, with the car unable to match the Chevy-powered Haas in Sector 2. Monster Rehab seemed to have kept their characteristic of being very slippery in a straight line, and George Russell appeared to be settling into his new car quite quickly. The same couldn't be said of Lando Norris, who found it hard to match Ricciardo's times. The McLaren in general looked to be a handful to drive and left Eric Boullier frustrated as his team looked to be in the same position they ended 2020 in. And finally, the newly branded BMW Williams team were in high spirits, with their new technical partnership already proving to be aiding in the performance of their Honda power unit. The 2021 grid might be one of the closest in history, and with new, more aggressive cars, the paddock believes the racing come Sunday could be more intense than ever before. After an incredible first qualifying session of the 2021 season that saw the first two rows separated by an incredible 0.08 of a second, it's the Ferrari debutant and former Alfa Romeo driver Charles Leclerc who snatches a well-deserved pole position with a mere 16 thousandths between himself and the new Audi driver Max Verstappen. The battle for third was also hard-fought, with Stoffel Vandoorne taking that position and making it three manufacturers in the top three, but he'll start alongside the other Audi of Carlos Sainz, the German outfit clearly feeling good over one lap. On row 3 comes aarava in the other Jag, starting just behind his teammate, while Nico Hulkenberg breaks the three-team domination at the top after managing to go just 11 thousandths quicker than a very disappointed Antonio Giovinazzi and the other prancing horse. Alongside the Italian comes Mick Schumacher in the monster Mercedes, managing to outpace his teammate by almost 0.3 of a second. Rounding out the top 10 and in positions they can't be content with come Ricciardo and Vettel for McLaren and Monster Mercedes respectively. Sophia Flörsch will start just outside the top 10 with free choice of tires, and Pascal Wehrlein will have a lot of work to do from P12. Only 7 thousandths of a second separated the two Red Bulls with their new Chevy engines, but the team can't be satisfied with the 7th row lockout considering their pedigree. Row 8 is all rookies, with George Russell managing to come to grips with his Monster Rehab car a bit better than Lando Norris could with his McLaren, while another new face will start just behind them. Jack Aitken might be starting down in P17, but he did manage to outqualify Valtteri Bottas on his first attempt. And joining the Renaults at the back, it will be the newly formed BMW Williams team, with Ocon throwing the first punch in his battle against Perez. Both Renaults and both Williams cars more than a second off the pole time here in Bahrain.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to F1 MyDriver Career Mode. We're back, baby, for Season 7 for the 2021 season. It is so good to say that we're back with MyDriver, and I'm so looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are. And if you are, be sure to already smash that like button for episode number 1 of Season 7. Welcome to any newcomers as well. If you're unfamiliar with MyDriver, this is my flagship series on the channel, the biggest series I do every single year for the past 2 years now, running for 6 seasons and now into a 7th. On screen at the moment, going through the drivers at the moment in the lineup for the 2021 season. If you did not check out the pre-season video uploaded last week on Friday, be sure to go see that before you check out the rest of this video. That will really clue you in on what this entire season is going to set up to be. But pre-season is behind us, and now we are ready for a 16-episode installment of F1 MyDriver Season 7, uploading every single Friday, guys. So be sure to come back to the channel every single Friday evening for a brand new episode of F1 MyDriver Season 7. But let's take our grid slot and get into this race for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Looks to be probably a 3-stop for us today with the tyre where we've got in the Jaguar team. But for those of you who are familiar with this series, you guys know just how close the racing can be. And so it's a big step into the unknown as we go to 5 red lights for the 2021 season here. The Bahrain Grand Prix is underway as the lights go out. And it's a great start for our teammate Stoffel Vandoorne, who straight away tries to get the lead of the Grand Prix. But Max Verstappen leads the way. It's a poor start for the pole man Charles Leclerc as he's on the outside of turn 1. And meanwhile, we're trying to feed it into P4 ahead of Carlos Sainz. We do so into turn 2 as Leclerc and Vandoorne up ahead bang tyres, and they're going to go neck and neck, and we're going to get a good tow on the Ferrari. So we're going to try and feed it to the left-hand side, the long way round here. Meanwhile, Verstappen is just getting away ahead and already got a bit of a commanding lead in my driver terms. We go 3 abreast now into the S section. Break a little bit early though. We can see that gap is ever closing, but we're going to make a bit of a nice tighter line on the next left-hander and try and feed it to the outside of Stoffel Vandoorne. Meanwhile, looks like Charles Leclerc does have it into second place, and we go side by side with our teammate there, and it's not taken too long. We're already dicing with Stoffel, the man we had some controversy with at the end of 2020 at the Brazilian Grand Prix in the finale. But there you go, Max Verstappen leading the way from Charles Leclerc with an already commanding lead. Carlos Sainz down in P5 ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi and the Haas, I think that is, of Nico Hulkenberg there. But a pretty decent start and good getaway for both us Jaguar cars. But let's look at a replay here. Someone else who had a really decent start was Sophia Flörsch, and more especially actually the Red Bull. Looks like Pierre Gasly trying to go around the outside of one of the Mercedes cars of, I think that may be Sebastian Vettel, who got bogged down somewhat. Mick Schumacher's younger teammate doing a little bit better up ahead, but look at that, Sophia gets really squeezed out by the 5-time world champion there in the Monster Mercedes car, his brand new Monster Mercedes car, and him himself gets squeezed out by one of the Haas cars of Pascal Wehrlein, I think that is, as Nico Hulkenberg is further up the road ahead of Mick Schumacher and Daniel Ricciardo in his papaya orange McLaren Honda there. So Hulkenberg doing well and right on the back of Antonio Giovinazzi, the Italian, in the Ferrari. But meanwhile, we move on to the end of lap 1 onto lap 2, trying to get on the back of our teammate Stoffel Vandoorne, but he's doing well himself. He's doing a great job at the moment to be right at the gearbox of the Ferrari in second place, and he's going to maybe have a chance to have a pop into turn 1 as Leclerc goes defensive as we start lap 2. Vandoorne tries to look around the outside, gets squeezed out though, gets hit with dirty air, and that results in us actually swooping right around the outside, and we're up into P3. Thank you very much, Stoffel. And now we can try and chase after the Ferrari ourselves. Meanwhile, Vandoorne actually has to continue doing some work as he has to now go defensive against the reigning world champion Carlos Sainz, who won it spectacularly last season at the Brazilian Grand Prix. He's now going neck and neck with him into the S section, and the Spaniard's going to hang it to the outside. The next left-hander, will Vandoorne squeeze out? Yes, he will, and he'll keep that P4 for now. But look at that train now forming of Alto Giovinazzi behind, then Nico Hulkenberg and the youngster Mick Schumacher, newly promoted to the Monster Mercedes racing team alongside the 5-time world champion Sebastian Vettel. But now we move back to our POV and we can try and focus on using some rich mix there. We've got a little bit of fuel to play with, not too much, but we've got some. But definitely the Jaguar car this year is a little bit of a thirsty car, so we're going to have to watch out for the fuel and definitely manage that and make sure we don't go into the red too much on that heads-up display. Meanwhile, now we move further back and we're actually now focusing on Nico Hulkenberg, and he's defending from the younger German Mick Schumacher in the Monster Mercedes cars. We move on towards lap 3 then. He's got the slipstream. He'll have DRS now for the first time in this race, and he pulls to the right-hand side. Meanwhile, there you can see also Carlos Sainz trying to have a look around the outside of Stoffel Vandoorne, but Mick Schumacher does make the move down the inside of Hulkenberg, and now Hulkenberg, flustered into turn 2, is now under pressure from his new teammate Pascal Wehrlein there. So will Wehrlein make a pass? I think he might have done, and he's already passed him. Yes, he is. There you go. Wehrlein in his brand new machinery finding some good pace there. Meanwhile, further back then, battles galore really at the moment. No chance to breathe really, and we've got the 2 Red Bull Chevrolet cars going side by side. It's Pierre Gasly on the right hand side and Nico Kari on the left, and meanwhile also behind them at the same time in a simultaneous move, Jack Aitken's trying to make a move on Lando Norris in the McLaren there, but the 2 Red Bulls will still go side by side. I think it's Kari on the inside, then Gasly's still trying to feed it to the outside of his younger teammate, and he's been forced off the road somewhat, and so Kari getting the elbows out, and behind him looks like Lando Norris is just about held off Jack Aitken in the Renault car. But Gasly with DRS, second bite of the cherry, has a good enough run. He goes back down the inside of Kari, and down the inside he's got up the hill then, and he's going to squeeze him out and may just feed this. No, the fin comes back at him. Great stuff between the 2 Red Bull Chevrolet cars, and Kari's going to keep that for now. Meanwhile, further up the road on the same lap, the battle has not ended for the Haas cars, and Wehrlein looks like he's been re-overtaken by Hulkenberg, so he's trying to get the place back off his fellow compatriot there on the last corner. And behind them also the Monster Rehab car of, I think that's Sophia Flores, trying to defend from Daniel Ricciardo and also Sebastian Vettel, who at the moment has had a pretty slow start, you must say, to the Bahrain Grand Prix. So down to turn 1 now, the Haas guy still going at it, and I think that's Wehrlein to the inside. He's got it, and Hulkenberg again getting flustered through turn 2, and now might be under pressure from another German, Sophia Flores. Here she goes in the Monster Rehab car on the left-hand side, and meanwhile Vettel in the slipstream of Ricciardo, maybe trying to make a pass there, but Sophia around the outside of Nico, and looks like she might just get that. Yes, she has, and she's up the order. So Hulkenberg dropping back in this race, and that's unfortunately looking like a lot like what he did in 2020. All too familiar sight there from last season, where Nico Hulkenberg qualified so many times in the top 4, even on the front row in 2020 in his Haas Chevrolet, but just fell back all the time during the race. And unfortunately at the moment, for his side of the garage at least, it looks to be maybe more of the same, although Wehrlein's got some pretty decent pace at the moment on lap 4. And speaking about lap 4, we're now chasing down Charles Leclerc. You can see he's also getting very close to Max Verstappen, so the top 3 covered by about, at least I'd say, about only half a second there, so it's getting very, very close indeed. And thankfully, it looks like the Audi isn't waltzing away, but you can see down the main straight, the Audi will have the advantage. It may not be a complete engine formula anymore with the brand new aerodynamics for 2021, but the Audi engine still definitely is the far superior engine compared to pretty much everyone else on the grid. So Verstappen using that to his advantage. I'm sure he's loving that after being in the Mercedes car that was lacking some power last year. But now we move on to lap 5, still chasing down, but yellow flags, and oh no, misery for the Ferrari camp, and Charles Leclerc has to retire from the Grand Prix. Parks up, mechanical failure, I'm guessing, no smoke there, but it's a retirement so early on, and in the first round. That is going to be a bitter way to end the Bahrain Grand Prix, and Ferrari will be absolutely furious and almost scared that they've had a retirement straight away in the first race here. But we have seen in the previous 2 seasons now, ever since the V8 hybrids came into effect in Formula 1, that reliability being pretty much piss poor for most teams. So Ferrari may not be alone here for this race or the rest of the season. We'll have to see. But meanwhile now, on to lap 6, Sebastian Vettel down the inside of his former Ferrari teammate Daniel Ricciardo. A bit of contact was made into turn 1. They keep it clean through turn 2. Ricciardo does cut the corner somewhat, and Vettel swoops around the outside though, and he's got that place, and so maybe this is the start of him getting back into the groove of this race. So far he's really not been showing the pace that he's had in the past, and that's what's made him a 5-time world champion. So he can get a move on now and maybe chase after that Monster Rehab car. But at the moment the junior team once again is ahead of the senior team, or quote-unquote senior team. Meanwhile though, on lap 6 for us on RBOB, Verstappen makes a mistake into the left-hander. That's probably one of the hardest corners in Formula 1, really. Very off camber almost. The left front tyre really wants to lock up very easily, and it looks like Verstappen's just done that and ran off wide. So we've gained a lot of time there, and now we can see him in our sights, and we've taken the opportunity to tell our team that we want to come in this lap for our first pit stop. We are making a 3-stop today. You can see getting hit with some dirty air, and that doesn't help our cause to keep up with Verstappen, so we lose a bit of time there on that right-hander. But we're making a 3-stop today because, as I mentioned, the tyre wear has not been brilliant in practice for the Jaguar team as a whole. So I would imagine that both me and Stoffel are going to be doing a 3-stop. So we're going to be coming in early. Obviously, we're the first man on the road, so we can make that call earlier. And so on to lap 6, here we come. And it will be another set of super soft tyres, I think. And we'll leave the soft set to the 3rd stint, and then we'll leave a final set of super softs at the end of the race, because I want to be on low fuel, the fastest tyre available, and really going to be able to push at the end of the race. And so we'll do a bit of a counter to what maybe our default strategy was wanting us to do, which was 3 sets of super softs all in a row. So we've made that pit stop now. As we come down to pit lane, let's see where we are in P15 at the moment. Looks like that's where we'll be, just ahead of Valtteri Bottas in one of the Renault cars, the other Renault Jack Aitken ahead in that 3-man scrap of Esteban Ocon and Lando Norris in the McLaren Honda. So now we're out and we can push once more on Rich Mix, and we do close up to the Frenchman Esteban Ocon quite rapidly then in the middle of lap 7. And can we try and make a move? We move to the right hand side, then kind of move to the left, and kind of almost like a shark hunting its prey, kind of just feed it round and try and suss out where we can make the attack. And we go around the outside of the Frenchman in the brand new branded BMW Williams Racing, still powered by Honda though, of course. They've still got 1 year left on their contract. And now we catch up to that second Renault, the British-Korean driver Jack Aitken, who's still trying his hardest to catch up and overtake Lando Norris. He was unsuccessful previously and still stuck behind him, but we're not going to be stuck for too long, I don't think. DRS open, rich mix flowing. You can see the difference in the Jaguar power v the Renault power. Renault still have plenty of work to do, but down the inside turn one, Jack actually puts up quite a bit of a fight there, and we have a bit of a tussle, tapping tyres, but we're round and past, and now we can get right on the back of Lando Norris, and that shouldn't be a challenge for us either at the moment, because it looks like, to be honest, Norris is struggling compared to Daniel Ricciardo, his teammate, his more senior teammate in this McLaren at the moment. So it looks like, coming off the back of a pretty poor ending to 2020 for McLaren Honda as a whole, looks like their car really hasn't made the big step up they were hoping for. And in the S section, we're just kind of being patient, really, trying to feed around the outside then of the hairpin there, trying to use our super soft tyres to good use. And if we get in this clean air now, we can now really get a move on there, because obviously Norris, you can see, on soft tyres. So really good we've made that pass as possible. And now we've got a big bit of clean air. And so now we can really push on and try and get this advantage, because if other people ahead of us, you know, the likes of Verstappen maybe, I'm not too sure what the Audis are doing, as their pace was a bit of a mystery, but if they're doing a two-stop, we need to get a move on. But now we've got yellow flags for Stoffel Van Dorn, our teammate, who's out of the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Alright, Stoffel's had to retire with overheating issues. He was in rich mix when it happened, so just be wary. Fuel is marginal, so let's play it tactical till the end of the race, okay?
So I was talking about earlier, Ferrari kicking themselves here. Well, it's not a great start for us then to this season. The Constructors' Champions coming into this season to have one car DNFing. And actually, looking at a replay, Stoffel Van Dorn took the lead of the Grand Prix, actually. Verstappen made another mistake into that left-hander, and Van Dorn was leading the way. And so that's even more unfortunate, the fact that I'm guessing he retired literally just in a few moments here from the lead of the Grand Prix. So that's really quite frustrating, not only for him, but just for us as a team, because, you know, the season's going to be so tight, so every point matters, really, in MyDriver. And so DNF like this, a big hit, and it's an engine failure. So the Jaguar power unit gives up here in the heat of Bahrain. So it's not even a mechanical failure like it was with Leclerc. It's an engine one, and that smokes away. And so that's Van Dorn out of this one, and 18 runners left. And so we're in P7, P5 now, as we make some overtakes with people in the pits. And here comes Verstappen out in the pit lane, locking up with a bit of excitement into turn one, as we try and maybe wrestle the car to maybe get right up the gearbox of the Dutchman. But at the moment, the gap pretty much the same as it was as we came into the pit lane. But, you know, we need to be patient. The real advantage of this strategy won't come into play until he's on a different set of tyres. At the moment, both of us still on super softs, and his tyres obviously out of the pit lane will be a little bit colder. So into sector 2, really gaining some time here through the S section. Can we make a little bit of a dive bomb down the inside of the hairpin? We'll go for it. Stick the nose in. Verstappen gives us the room, so fair play to him. It does cut across and keeps P4 for now. We'll keep it nice and calm to the left-hander. Verstappen again goes too hot into that left-hander, and he's off the circuit, and we're up into P4. And effectively, could that be the net race lead? As he was leading the way, we were in second, and I don't think anything's really changed unless someone's come out of nowhere to take the lead with some stunning pace that we haven't seen. So that's absolutely brilliant. And now we move on to focus on Sebastian Vettel, who looks to make a similar pass on Sophia Flores to the one I made on Max Verstappen there. And so now down the second DRS straight, DRS open for him, but looks like the Monster Rehab car does have the legs. So again, this junior team looks to be set up in the same way they were in 2020, with a bit of a lower drag concept for the year, and that's kind of equalising the pace that the bigger Mercedes team may be gaining in the corners. And Vettel has actually just been squeezed out completely there by the youngster. So Vettel's got his work cut out of him. He does want to make that overtake work, as now we move back to our POV on towards the lap 11, and the lead of the Grand Prix is under threat now as Verstappen comes through. We squeeze him to the right. We're going to move to the left, back into the brake zone for the racing line. Brake a little bit earlier. Absolute textbook switchback move on him into turn one, and we're back into the lead of this Grand Prix and defending successfully against Verstappen, and he's going to have to settle for P2. And now hopefully we can try and get the pedal down and get away from him. Otherwise we may have our work cut out to defend from him every single straight. Meanwhile though, it's a three-wide moment for the Mercedes, Monster Rehab and McLaren car as they go into turn one. Vettel on the inside, Flourish on the middle, and Ricciardo on the outside, and he's going toe-to-toe with Flourish into turn two and just couldn't quite make that. And due to a bit of contact made, Ricciardo slows down enough that the other Monster Rehab car now of George Russell now may find some action finally in this Grand Prix. The young Brit down the inside of the Australian, and it looks like Russell may just have that. It's going to be a brilliant brilliant little move. And so at the moment, you've got to say, the McLaren team look to have gone backwards rather than forwards off the back of last season. And Russell is up the order, and both Monster Rehab cars going really well in this race for a first outing there. And it may be even debut points for Russell, which would be really great. Obviously, he's a rookie into Formula 1, so that'll be a fantastic debut for him. As we move on to lap 13, we're going to come in, and you can see on the right-hand side there, changing the tyres to soft tyres. Like I mentioned just earlier, we're going to have and save the super soft tyres, the third set, for the final stint. So we're on low fuel then, fastest tyre available. We're really going to get the hammer down in that final stint. So we'll take the hit here with the soft tyres. Obviously, we do have to change at least one different compound, so we'll take the hit now in this third stint, and then we'll get moving here. So this will be the longest stint we do in this race. We come out in on lap 14, and where are we going to be in P9 at the moment? Looks like it's going to be just ahead of Nico Hulkenberg in the Red Bull car, and just about is really the word for it, as we just nip ahead with the proximity hour in red there. And as we look behind us, we'll see him right up our gearbox there, and it's going to be Russell, the Monster Rehab car, the next one up the order in P8, with a bit of a gap to him. So we've got plenty of clean air actually, so that's a really good time to make that pit stop, as we picked the right moment there, so we can just focus on the lap times really rather than fighting cars. Meanwhile though, speaking about fighting cars, we've got the BMW Williams racing car of Esteban Ocon, I think that is, around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo, and so that is a very peculiar sight to see. Ricciardo does come back at him though very easily through turn 2, so you can clearly see both cars obviously with the Honda power unit. You can see the difference between the McLaren and the Williams car. You've got the McLaren with the superior downforce, able to just go right back around him into turn 2, but both of them equally matched. And actually, with the expertise of BMW, looks like the Williams team have found a little bit more pace maybe in the straight line with that Honda power unit. Meanwhile now, we look at a move for P3 in the Grand Prix. I think this is Carlos Sainz right around the outside of Antonio Giovinazzi. We haven't seen too much of the other Ferrari car. He's been had a very lonely race. The same can be said of Carlos Sainz really, but both those guys do battle, and I say battle really, Carlos Sainz easily around the outside. So the Ferrari car, Giovinazzi, struggling at the moment for really any spectacular pace, and has had a very dull Grand Prix to say the least compared to some of us, the rest of us fighting away. And now the two Monster Rehab cars will go side by side through turns 1 and 2 on lap 15. Russell trying to get the better of his more senior teammate, I guess you could say, Sophia Flores. But for now, on lap 15 into sector 2, she'll stay ahead of Russell as we move on to a battle now once again between Esteban Ocon and Lando Norris. It's the same battle actually, sorry, so it wasn't Ricciardo, it was Lando Norris previously. Ricciardo's actually there in the background making an earlier pit stop than his younger teammate. Ocon though down the inside, and this time he's actually got it. Impressive stuff there from Esteban Ocon, and you can see why Williams wanted to hire him and Sergio Perez, both of them really doing a decent job at the moment to say how poor that car really is. But obviously both of them will be hoping that BMW and them can both make some steady progress this season for the rest of it. As we move on to lap 17 now, we've got an early pit stop there from, I think that's Max Verstappen, as Carlos Sainz now takes the lead of the Grand Prix and continues away. Meanwhile for P2 now is Antonio Giovinazzi defending from Mick Schumacher. Shows Schumacher doing a wonderful job. I mean, Vettel's nowhere near this pace, and Schumacher here is challenging for a genuine podium at the moment. It looks like he's on soft tyres and has really been going well this entire race, so he's really making the most of his debut in the top team. So now we move on back to our POV as we cross the line for lap 17, and you can see Verstappen having made that pit stop. Here he comes, and we're ahead of him now in this Grand Prix. So this is where the advantages come in now, and even more so because Verstappen's out on medium tyres. Now we know from practice that the medium tyres weren't amazing, so that's why I'm trying to actively avoid them if I can. But Verstappen's on the set on mediums, as well as these two Monster Rehab cars, so it's interesting to see how this tyre progresses. It really didn't show too much positive signs in practice, but now there's a bit of a tandem overtake being done with the two pink cars going side by side, and equally so Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hulkenberg doing the exact same thing, just one corner back. And so it looks like Russell again has had a pop and unable to make that work. Meanwhile though, still going side by side is the McLaren, the Haas, and Hulkenberg going the long way round on Ricciardo. And will he make this work towards the S section? Who's going to break earlier? It's Ricciardo on the super softs and Hulkenberg on the soft tyre, so theoretically Ricciardo should have the advantage round the outside. He does so and uses that fresher set and faster set of tyres to his advantage, and he stays ahead of the German there. But both of them behind the two Monster Rehab cars, so I suspect they're probably out of sync a little bit. Meanwhile though, Flores has made a mistake actually there, and so quite casually Russell gets it down the inside, and now Flores looks to be a bit flustered off that mistake, maybe locked up her tyres quite poorly, and is now regretting that, as now Ricciardo swoops around the outside cleanly to make a very easy move. So we know, the flat spots can be quite a bad thing, obviously inducing some vibrations there, and so Ricciardo uses that very easily to get up the order. And so him and Hulkenberg both have to really make some overtakes here to get back ahead of both of those Monster Rehab cars, as I'm guessing, as I said, they're out of sync of this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, though, on lap 18, it's Schumacher chasing down Giovinazzi, and we're going to see if he's going to make a move into the final corner. Looks like he's going to set himself up as Giovinazzi goes defensive into that final corner. Round the outside he goes, and it's going to be a very nice move, and that will be into a potential podium position, but both of them then come straight in the pits. And so as we go back onto our POV, as we cross the line onto lap 19, we're going to overtake both of them and get up into the lead of this Grand Prix, with Verstappen, who's going to eventually find himself back in P2 with Carlos Sainz in third and Schumacher and Giovinazzi behind those two then. And so now we're looking at this battle for P3 between Schumacher and Sainz on lap 20 there. So Schumacher already, we saw, has dispatched Giovinazzi, and now maybe fancies his sight on these two Audis, with Verstappen there not too far ahead in second place, who's now locked up again into the same left-hander as he's done twice before, even a couple of more times. There's been some contact there. Carbon fibre is off there, and I think maybe Verstappen sustained some damage, and Sainz trying to go down the inside now with DRS, and more contacts made, and that's a bit of a front wing cascade element off on the left-hand side of Verstappen's front wing, so that's really not going to help him. Obviously, with a brand new aero, any bit of downforce lost with a front wing damage is going to be crucial, and already you can kind of see in that right-hander Verstappen losing some momentum, and Sainz getting away now in P2, and Schumacher now is probably looking at Verstappen, who's very, very vulnerable indeed. So the question is really, though, is Schumacher going to have the pace down this straight to overtake him, because Verstappen will have DRS still. So let's see how the Audi does against the Mercedes down this main straight as they go on towards lap 21 now, in towards turn 1. Will Schumacher make a pop? No, he will not. Nothing able to be done so far, but it's only a matter of time, I would say, with that front wing damage, to be honest, you've got to say. And so now we move back to our POV on the end of lap 21 on towards lap 22 as we all cross the line in the pit lane. We're going to make that final pit stop, and this will be onto the set of super soft tyres. And like I mentioned now, we're just going to go as hard as we can, low fuel. We've only got 8 laps left, so we need to make the most of it here. We'll fall behind all those guys that are fighting for the podium positions, but we'll have so much fresher tyres. So I think this is going to be quite an intense ending to the Grand Prix, you must say.
Okay, Arif, a lot of guys ahead are starting to struggle on their medium tyres. Your fuel is good until the end of the race, so let's give them hell.
Well, there you go. We got the all clear from our race engineer. It's time to really get the hammer down and try and chase after the top 6. And it's going to start off with our old rival, Sebastian Vettel. And all of those guys, I think, barring Mick Schumacher, I think are a medium tyre. So all these guys may be struggling, as our engineer just talked about. And here we go. We're being a little bit patient, though, into this left-hander. Could have made a little dive bomb, but we're going to try and keep this nice and clean and hopefully not sustain any damage like Verstappen has done just a bit before. So on lap 23 on the second straight, DRS, second bite of the cherry here on the lap, and round the outside will go Vettel. Really squeezes us towards the curbing, and so there's no love lost between former rivals there. Of course, if you did not know, if you're new around here, for MyDriver, myself and Vettel battled quite hard for the championship in 2018, and ultimately he won his 5th world championship there, but no love lost there between us two. A little bit of a kind squeezing on the right hand side. Meanwhile, though, for the lead of this Grand Prix, and it's actually Max Verstappen defending his lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix. So I think whilst I overtook Vettel, Verstappen must have got back into first place, but now Sainz back down the inside, and he's got it. And now look at that, Mick Schumacher right round the outside, the long way round to turn 2. It's going to be close, but you can see what I mean. He's the only one on soft tyres here in the top flight, barring myself on super softs coming there in the background. But look at that, Verstappen's now really got hampered, and Giovinazzi may go round the outside of him into sector 2, and so Verstappen from the lead of this Grand Prix maybe down to 4th place in the span of one sector alone. Meanwhile, we're closing up on Pascal Wehrlein. Now Verstappen's round. There's been contact between Giovinazzi and Verstappen. We dive it down the inside of Pascal Wehrlein there. Opportunistic move, caught him napping, and that is the perfect timing to make that move, because the DRS gets disabled. Virtual safety car is called out, and I made the move on Pascal literally just as it was called out, so I'm able to stay ahead of Pascal, my former teammate, when we were both at Mercedes in Season 2 and Season 3. But that is Verstappen and Giovinazzi with contact made there. And so let's look at a replay now. This is actually a little bit earlier in the lap, and this is how Verstappen got back into the lead of this Grand Prix. So in the same place he lost the lead of the Grand Prix, he gains it back, it looks like, down this straight. In the same place I overtook Vettel on the same exact exact lap this was. That's why we didn't actually catch it. Verstappen gets back up into the lead this Grand Prix, but obviously Sainz, with the superior downforce now, with that front wing damage on Max's car, is going to keep with him in P2. And you can see, look at that, the top four all just nose to tail. You can throw a blanket over them. Absolutely awesome stuff to see in this first race of 2021. But as Verstappen goes down that straight, then obviously we know what happened. We saw it live, so we're going to cut a little bit ahead. And so this is again a replay of what happened, and this time we're going to stay on with the third person camera to see what happens with Giovinazzi and Verstappen. It looks like, unfortunately, that's a bit of a racing incident, I want to say. I don't think there's any kind of bad intention from the Italian there against Verstappen. So looking on board now, so there's where Verstappen got squeezed out, obviously, and they're now on board with the Italian, so you can make a very nice attempt around the outside. Both of these guys on medium tyres struggling, a little bit of a scraping of the tyres there, and so these guys will keep it side by side into the S section. And now, yeah, this is confirmation. Unfortunately for Verstappen's sake, I think that's pretty much just a racing incident. I don't think you can say that Giovinazzi was trying to do that intentionally. And so Verstappen, he's not out of this Grand Prix, but he's down the order now in around P7, I would imagine, there with that spin, having to reverse back on track. And so now the virtual safety cars come in, and it's all green. We're back racing again as we move on to lap 25. And as we look behind us, Pascal Wehrlein actually is able to keep up with us and actually gaining on us, despite the fact we have DRS from Giovinazzi. So you can see the Haas may not have the downforce, but that Chevrolet engine is a very, very decent engine. And so Wehrlein closing up, but ultimately we're going to keep ahead, and we're going to try and set our eyes instead ahead to Giovinazzi and hopefully try and get a podium, maybe even the win. You never know, because at the moment you can see Carlos Sainz actually struggling on the medium tyres, and Schumacher looking very handy indeed through the S section. A little bit of a squirm on the rear end there, and Schumacher looking very dangerous indeed now in this Grand Prix, and into the hairpin. Oh, Carlos Sainz is locked up. He's locked up, and he's off circuit, and he's parked it up there, and I think that is done and sealed. Mick Schumacher into the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Giovinazzi up into second. We're up into that podium position in third. Meanwhile, Sainz gets it going, and he's now behind Verstappen once more. Both of them now way down the order in what is, I think, around P6 or P7 and P8. And so now Mick Schumacher leads the Bahrain Grand Prix, and at the moment in his first race for the big monster Mercedes team, might just be coming through for a Grand Prix victory. His second of his career this would be, but it's not over there for us. The race is not over. We've got 4 laps left, and we're closing up on Antonio Giovinazzi, the man we've had plenty of battles with in the past when he was back in the Toro Rosso. And here we go through the final corner, setting this move up. We'll have rich mix to use. We've got DRS also to our aid. So here we go, nice and patient, open the DRS and get in the slipstream, and it's going to be a pretty simple pass then for us up into P2 as we cross the line onto lap 26. We're going to have to do the job under braking though. Giovinazzi does come back, and there's a little bit of contact made there on the left front, but on the exit we're going to go round the outside as he cuts the corner in turn 2 indeed, and we're up into P2. But that man right there going to the bottom of your screen, Mick Schumacher at the moment in a lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix, and with only 3 laps to go, he's on soft tyres that aren't going off the cliff compared to the mediums. I think he may have the lead sealed and booked. We're going to try our hardest. You can see we're getting away from Giovinazzi there. In 4th place is Pascal Wehrlein, because Sebastian Vettel from his medium tyres has to come in, and the same is going to be the case for Carlos Sainz. So a lot of these medium tyre runners have just really hit the cliff on the mediums. It doesn't look like Giovinazzi and Wehrlein will, so they're going to finish up in a really strong 3rd and 4th place. But you can see Sainz in, George Russell in as well, and indeed, actually, I lied, Pascal Wehrlein does come in eventually, although I think he still will keep a pretty damn good 4th place there. But Sebastian Vettel onto super softs then at the end of that race. Meanwhile, Ricciardo though has actually managed to creep up into the points then on soft tyres, so not a complete disaster day in the office for Ricciardo and McLaren. But here we go, there is your race winner for the Bahrain Grand Prix, Mick Schumacher, to take home his 2nd win of his career in the F1 MyDriver universe. A fantastic win after an enthralling Bahrain Grand Prix. Such drama with the 2 Audis making so many mistakes like that, and we said and we saw in practice that throughout practice they were on a knife edge, and it looks like that definitely came into Rue throughout the race. But that's a really solid 2nd place for us after a very aggressive strategy. And so of course the Drivers' World Championship will end as it did on the road, with Mick Schumacher in 1st, ourselves in 2nd, Giovinazzi in 3rd, Vettel actually in 4th actually, so my mistake. Wehrlein actually moved down to 5th, that was, with Vettel making good. And so it's a really strong start to the season season for Monster Mercedes Racing after what was quite a quiet year for them in 2020. But there you have it, guys. The first race of F1 MyDriver 2021 is done and booked, and what an awesome and fun race that was to show you guys. So smash that like button if you have enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought in the comments below of that one. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for more weekly Formula 1 content. Remember, this F1 MyDriver Season 7 goes out every single Friday, so be sure to come back and check the channel out if you're a fan of this series and you want to see more weekly. 16 rounds to go, so 1 down, 15 to go every single week on a Friday. Remember, once again, just going to say that to drill the points home. And so once again, finally, smash that like button, guys, if you have enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Goodbye.